Have you ever looked at someone you've known your entire life, someone you've always loved and trusted, and suddenly seen them differently? Seen them not just as family, but as something more, something forbidden, something that sends a jolt of confusion and maybe even desire through your very being? This is my story. And trust me, it's not one I ever thought I'd be sharing, especially not like this. But maybe, just maybe, by telling it I can understand it myself. My name is Emma, and until recently my life was simple, peaceful even. I grew up in a small town, just me and my dad, William. Mom isn't in the picture. She passed away when I was just a little girl, taken by a sickness that even now feels like a phantom limb in our lives, a constant ache of what's missing. Dad, bless his heart, he was everything. Father, mother, best friend, the whole damn universe wrapped into one strong, comforting presence. My childhood was filled with his love. I remember summer evenings, fireflies blinking in the twilight, Dad's voice low and soothing as he read me stories, often stories about Mom. Not sad stories, not usually. More like memories, little snapshots of her laughter, her kindness, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. He kept her alive for me, not as a ghost, but as a vibrant memory, a guiding star. He never remarried, never even dated as far as I knew. It was always just us, a little island against the world. He worked hard always. He was a carpenter, his hands callous but gentle. Always building, always fixing, always creating. Our house, a cozy little place with a sprawling garden, was a testament to his love and labor. Every shelf, every repair, every lovingly tended rose bush was a piece of him. He poured his heart into everything he did, especially me. Growing up I was naive, sheltered maybe. My world revolved around school, books, and Dad. Love, relationships, boys, those were abstract concepts from movies and novels, not real-life things that touched my simple existence. I was content in my bubble, secure in Dad's unwavering love. Then came university. Leaving home, leaving Dad. It felt like stepping off solid ground and into thin air. I remember that first day, the sprawling campus, the faces rushing past, all strangers. A wave of bewilderment washed over me. A feeling of being utterly, completely alone despite being surrounded by thousands of people. My dorm room felt sterile, impersonal compared to my cozy room back home. My roommate Sarah was nice enough, but she was a whirlwind of energy, always on the phone, always making plans, always different from me. The first few weeks were a blur of orientation lectures, awkward icebreakers, and the relentless hum of a new, overwhelming environment. I tried to keep up, to be open, to make friends, but a constant ache tugged at my heart. Homesickness was a physical thing, a knot in my stomach, a tightness in my chest. Every time I thought of Dad, a wave of longing would wash over me. I'd picture him in the garden, tending to his roses, or in his workshop, the smell of sawdust and varnish filling the air, or simply sitting in his armchair, reading the newspaper in the quiet evening. University was a different world. A world Sarah and my other dorm mates, Chloe and Emily, seemed to navigate with effortless ease. They talked about parties, about bars, about boys, with a casual familiarity that both intrigued and intimidated me. They weren't innocent, not like me. They knew things I was only just starting to glimpse at the edges of my sheltered world. Our dorm room, crammed with 4 beds, 4 desks, and a chaotic jumble of clothes and books, became our little universe. During the day it was a study space, a refuge from the overwhelming campus. But on weekend nights it transformed. Music would pulse from phone speakers, makeup palettes would explode onto desks, and a flurry of excited chatter would fill the air as Sarah, Chloe, and Emily transformed themselves for the night. At first, I watched from the sidelines, a shy observer. I'd be curled up with a book while they prepped, their energy buzzing around me like electric currents. The air would be thick with hairspray and perfume, their laughter and excited whispers filling the room. They'd invite me, of course. "Come on, Emma. Just one night. It'll be fun. Maybe next time," I'd murmur, burying myself deeper in my book, a strange mix of longing and trepidation swirling within me. But their infectious enthusiasm was hard to resist. And honestly, a part of me, a small hidden part, was curious. Curious about this world of bars and parties, curious about the laughter and excitement that seemed to radiate from them on Monday mornings as they recounted their weekend adventures. Finally, one Friday night, curiosity won. "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper, as Chloe was meticulously applying eyeliner. Okay, I'll go. Their cheers erupted, a wave of joyful noise that washed over my initial nervousness. They descended upon me, pulling me into their whirlwind of preparations. Sarah did my makeup, Emily picked out a dress, a slinky black number that felt shockingly short and revealing compared to my usual jeans and sweaters, and Chloe helped me with my hair, teasing it into waves I barely recognized as my own. Standing in front of the mirror, I barely recognized myself. The makeup, the dress, the hair. It was like looking at a stranger. A bolder, more confident stranger. And a flicker of excitement of something new sparked within me. The bar was sensory overload. Flashing lights, pulsing music, a dense crowd of bodies moving and swaying. The air was thick with the smell of alcohol and something else, something indefinable but intoxicating. I clung to Sarah's arm, feeling a wave of dizziness and disorientation wash over me. First time? She yelled over the music, her eyes sparkling with amusement. I nodded, feeling utterly out of my depth. She grinned, leading me through the crowd towards the bar. Don't worry, I got you. She ordered a cocktail for me, something bright pink and fizzy. I took a tentative sip. It was sweet, then bitter, then strangely pleasant. A warmth spread through my chest, chasing away some of the nervousness. That first night was a blur of noise, lights, and new sensations. I mostly observed, watching Sarah, Chloe, and Emily move through the crowd with such effortless confidence, laughing, talking, dancing. But gradually, as the night wore on, as the music pulsed through my veins, and as the sweet cocktails loosened my inhibitions, I started to loosen up too. I even managed to dance a little, awkwardly at first, then with more abandon as the laughter of my friends encouraged me. Nights like that became routine. Weekends blurred into a kaleidoscope of bars, parties, and new experiences. I learned to drink, starting with sips and small glasses, then graduating to whole cocktails, sometimes even shots, fueled by a sense of rebellious freedom and a desire to fit in. We'd stumble back to the dorm in the early hours, giddy with laughter, legs wobbly, voices loud with stories of the night. There was a thrill to it, a sense of breaking free from the quiet, predictable rhythm of my old life. I was no longer just Emma, the shy girl from the small town. I was someone else. Someone bolder, more adventurous, someone who knew the taste of cocktails and the feel of dancing in a crowded room, someone who was in her own way growing up. And then there was love, or at least what felt like love at the time. It started at a classmate's birthday party. Amidst the noise and chatter, I noticed him, Liam. He was laughing, his eyes crinkling at the corners, just like Mom's and Dad's stories. He had a warm smile, a kind face, and when his eyes met mine, something shifted. We started talking. Hours flew by in a haze of conversation. We discovered shared interests in books, movies, music. We talked about our dreams, our fears, our families. He was easy to talk to. He really listened to what I had to say. And he made me laugh. Late that night, after the party, we exchanged numbers. Then came the texts, long messages stretching late into the night. Sharing secrets, dreams, silly jokes. It was intoxicating, this constant connection, this feeling of being understood, of being seen. Love or infatuation or whatever it was hit me like a wave. Suddenly, the world seemed brighter, more vibrant. University life, which had initially felt overwhelming and isolating, now had a new dimension, a new excitement. Liam was a constant presence in my thoughts, a warm glow in my new world. The first year flew by in a whirlwind of lectures, late-night study sessions, parties, dates with Liam, and endless conversations with my dorm mates. I had changed. I knew it, felt it in my bones. The shy, bookish girl who had arrived on campus a year ago seemed like a distant memory. I had tasted freedom, experienced new sensations, and discovered a part of myself I never knew existed. Summer vacation arrived, abruptly ending the whirlwind. Saying goodbye to Sarah, Chloe, and Emily felt strange, like tearing a page out of a book. The dorm room, once buzzing with life, became eerily quiet as everyone packed up and left. A strange emptiness settled in, a void where the laughter, the late-night outings, the endless stories used to be. It was a stark reminder of how much I had grown accustomed to this new, vibrant lifestyle. Returning home, that was the real jolt. Stepping back into the quiet familiarity of our house felt like stepping back into a previous life. Everything was the same, yet I was different. Dad was in the living room watching TV, his gaze fixed on the screen. He didn't even notice me come in. A mischievous impulse took hold of me. I crept up behind him step by silent step, planning to give him a good scare. My hand reached out, just inches from his shoulder. Suddenly he whirled around, his hand shooting out and grabbing mine. He pulled me into a warm, familiar embrace. "Emma, you're back." His voice was full of surprise and joy. We both burst out laughing, the tension of the surprise melting away into pure relief and happiness. "How did you know it was me?" I asked, still chuckling. He grinned, pointing to the mirror positioned strategically across from the TV. "Magic," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Or just good planning." I turned and saw it, the mirror perfectly reflecting the doorway, giving him a clear view of my approach. I laughed again, feeling a rush of affection for his cleverness, his warmth, his deadness. We chatted for a while, catching up. He asked about university, about my friends, about my classes. I told him about Sarah, Chloe, and Emily, about the parties, about the lectures, carefully omitting the more adventurous details. Later, as I unpacked in my room, a wave of peace washed over me. This house, this quiet space filled with memories and Dad's love, it was still home. It was still safe. That evening we had dinner together, just the two of us, in the familiar quiet of our dining room. I told him more stories about university, funny anecdotes about lectures and dorm life. He listened intently, his eyes crinkling with amusement, sometimes just smiling at me with that soft, loving gaze I knew so well. And then it happened. During dinner, as the conversation lulled for a moment, I really looked at him, really saw him, and something shifted again. He was handsome, truly undeniably handsome. He was almost 50, but he carried himself with a strength and vitality that belied his age. He worked hard, physically demanding work, and it showed. His arms were strong, his shoulders broad. He was wearing a simple tank top, the kind he always wore around the house in the summer heat. And I noticed his muscles, really noticed them, the way they moved under his skin, the way his biceps flexed as he reached for his water glass. A strange heat rose within me. I stared at him, my eyes fixed on the curve of his arm, the line of his jaw, the way the light caught in his hair. My thoughts, they became chaotic, confused, unsettling. "Emma," his voice, deeper than I remembered, broke through my swirling thoughts. "What are you thinking about?" I startled, blinking, feeling a blush creep up my neck. I forced a smile, shaking my head. "Nothing," I mumbled, my voice a little too high-pitched. "Just tired, maybe." We both chuckled, a slightly strained sound. He looked at me, his eyes searching, a hint of concern in their depths. "You've changed, you know," he said softly, "since you went away to school." I nodded, forcing another smile. "Grown up, you mean?" He just smiled back, a wistful, thoughtful expression. "Maybe," he said. Later that night, lying in bed, sleep eluded me. The image of Dad, his strong arms, his handsomeness, kept flashing in my mind. It was disturbing, uncomfortable, and yet I couldn't shake it. These thoughts about my father felt wrong, deeply, profoundly wrong, but they were there, persistent, unwelcome, yet undeniably present. Even when I closed my eyes, the image lingered, a burning ember in the darkness. The next day was sweltering, the kind of heat that seeps into your bones and makes you feel sluggish and listless. Sitting in the living room, fanning myself with a magazine, offered little relief. Every breath felt heavy, thick with humid air. Dad had left early that morning, something about a job site needing urgent attention. He wouldn't be back until noon. The house felt heavy, still, and suffocating in the midday heat. The air hung thick and motionless. Unable to bear it any longer, I retreated to the bathroom. The cool tile floor felt blissful against my bare feet. I turned on the shower, the sound of rushing water a welcome relief. Stepping under the cool spray was like stepping into another world. Each drop washed away the oppressive heat, both physical and internal. The relief was so intense, so complete that I just relaxed. Let go. The water cascaded over me, cool and soothing, chasing away the stifling heat. I closed my eyes, letting the sensation wash over me. The sound of the water filling the small space, drowning out all other thoughts. The tension in my shoulders began to ease. The knot in my stomach loosened. For a moment, just a blissful moment, I forgot everything. Forgot the heat. Forgot the unsettling thoughts from the night before. Forgot Everything. Then, a strange feeling prickled at the back of my neck. A sense of being watched. Observed. My eyes snapped open. And there he was. Dad. William. Standing in the doorway, his gaze fixed on me. He had come home. And I hadn't closed the bathroom door properly. It was slightly ajar, just a crack, but enough. Enough for him to see me. His eyes, they were locked on mine, unblinking. His face frozen in an expression I couldn't decipher. Surprise, yes. But also something else. Something deeper, more complex. Something unsettlingly intense. My heart slammed against my ribs. My breath hitched in my throat. My legs felt like lead rooted to the spot. A tense, suffocating silence filled the small bathroom, broken only by the relentless rush of the shower water. Each second stretched out, impossibly long, heavy with unspoken meaning. In that frozen moment, in the space between our locked gazes, a boundary shifted. A line was crossed. We both knew it. The silence shattered when I finally managed to croak out a single word, my voice trembling, barely audible above the water. Dad! He flinched like he'd been jolted awake from a trance. His eyes flickered, confusion clouding his gaze. He blinked rapidly, glancing around the small bathroom as if searching for an explanation, an excuse for his presence. His hand tightened on the strap of his work bag, the canvas strap shaking slightly with the tremor in his hand. I'm sorry, he stammered, his voice rough, broken. He couldn't meet my eyes, his gaze darting away, but not before I saw the flesh creeping up his neck, staining his cheeks a fiery red. We stood there, frozen, caught in an impossible tableau. The humid air of the small bathroom felt thick, suffocating. The sound of the water, still relentlessly pouring from the showerhead, seemed to mock the strained silence, a constant, ironic reminder of the taboo we were teetering on the edge of. I clenched my hands, feeling the cool water slick on my skin, trying to quell the chaotic emotions rising within me. A sudden breeze, stirring through the half-open bathroom window, sent a shiver through me. A chill that was both physical and emotional. Embarrassment, confusion, a strange, unsettling thrill, all warred within me. He looked at me again, just once, his eyes locking with mine for a fleeting, charged moment, a silent, unspoken confession passing between us. Then, he turned abruptly and hurried out of the bathroom, disappearing back into the living room. The space returned to silence, but the silence was different now. Charged, heavy, pregnant with unspoken tension. My heart still hammered in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against the suffocating quiet. Confusion, embarrassment, and something else, something I couldn't quite name, swirled within me, a chaotic storm of emotions. After what felt like an eternity, I finally stepped out of the shower, wrapping a towel tightly around myself. The steam from the shower drifted out with me, mixing with the heavy, humid air of the afternoon. My damp skin glistened in the muted light. My heart pounded in my chest as I walked into the living room. He was there, sitting on the edge of the armchair, his work shirt clinging to his back, damp with sweat. He looked up as I entered, his eyes meeting mine for a fraction of a second, then darting away, red-rimmed and haunted. It was like looking directly at him was impossible. The innocent girl I had been just a year ago felt like a ghost, a faded memory. A boldness, a recklessness I didn't know I possessed, surged through me. A strange, almost defiant smile touched my lips. I walked towards him, each step feeling heavy, deliberate, charged with a forbidden energy. I sat down beside him, so close that our thighs brushed, his warmth radiating through the thin towel. His breath hitched. I leaned in, my voice a low, breathy whisper, the air between us thick with unspoken tension. "Did you see everything?" I asked, a half-smile playing on my lips, as if this was just a casual, trivial question. He stiffened, his whole body going rigid. His brown eyes, usually warm and gentle, were now wide, pupils dilated, glowing in the muted light of the living room. A fiery red flush stained his cheeks, stretching up his neck. He looked shy, awkward, and something else, something undeniably drawn. He faltered, his mouth opening and closing, struggling to find words that wouldn't come. "Dad," he mumbled, his voice cracking, his hands clenching and unclenching on the fabric of his shirt, as if trying to physically contain the rising tension within him. "Dad, it's not," he trailed off, unable to complete the sentence. Our eyes met again, locked, and in his gaze I saw a battle raging. A struggle between reason and something else. Something raw, primal, undeniably there. "Don't avoid me," I whispered, my voice soft but firm, my eyes never leaving his. The space between us felt frozen, suspended in time. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing in his throat, his lips moving as if to speak, then stopping, no words coming. We both knew it. The line between right and wrong was blurring, dissolving, becoming indistinct in the heavy, charged atmosphere of the living room. He took a deep, shuddering breath, his hands trembling slightly as they rose, hesitantly, and settled on my shoulders. His touch tentative yet firm. This won't do," he whispered, his voice barely audible, more to himself than to me. But I didn't let him stop. A strange, powerful current surged through me, a feeling of inevitability. His eyes, searching mine, were hesitant, conflicted. But there was no outright rejection in them, no push away. An impulse, reckless and undeniable, took hold of me. My hands reached up, cupping his face, my fingers tracing the rough line of his jaw. I pulled him closer, the movement decisive, undeniable. And then I kissed him. His lips were trembling, hesitant at first, then responding. Soft, warm, surprisingly passionate. Our breaths mingled, the air thick with the scent of sweat and something else, something intoxicating, something forbidden. I knew in that instant, as our lips met, that the invisible thread that had always connected us, the bond of father and daughter, had irrevocably changed. It was dissolving, transforming into something else, something dangerous. He didn't pull away. His arms, no longer hesitant, wrapped around me, pulling me closer, his embrace tight, almost desperate. I could feel his heart hammering against mine, a frantic rhythm that echoed the chaotic pounding in my own chest. The world outside, the house, the heat, everything faded away. There was only us, and the overwhelming, forbidden sensations of the present. "I shouldn't," he whispered again, his voice muffled against my hair, a last, weak protest. But his words were swallowed by emotion, by the heat that flared between us. I didn't reply, just looked up into his eyes, dark and dilated, searching for what? Confirmation? Surrender? Maybe both. And in their depths I saw it. Surrender. And then we were kissing again. Deeper, longer, more passionate than before. All inhibitions, all reason, swept away in a tidal wave of forbidden desire. From that moment on, all boundaries, all lines between father and daughter, blurred and vanished, erased by a kiss, a touch, a shared glance in a sweltering bathroom on a summer afternoon. We were plunging into something unknown, something dangerous, something utterly, irrevocably life-altering. And in that moment, lost in the heat of the kiss, in the thrill of the forbidden, neither of us seemed to care about the consequences. We were just falling. What happens next? Will Emma and William succumb to this forbidden desire completely? What will the consequences be? Let me know if you want to hear part 2 by liking this video and leaving a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more shocking and personal stories.